My mom told me not to talk to strangers on the internet, but I'm glad I didn't listen. We are the Certified Noonas, your sisters in the love of Asian entertainment.
Hi, I'm Amanda.
I'm Jessie.
I'm Natalia.
And I'm Sky.
And today we are doing one of our little episodes that we do when a new show that we're all pretty excited about starts, and then we all watch the first 2 episodes and we talk about what we think is going on and if we like them and blah blah blah. You know that, like, listen, if you've been around, you know. You know the drill. You know what we're about. And this week we're going to be talking about the show Jirisan, which is a TVN iQIYI dual production that is currently on iQIYI and will be on Viki soon. So we're going to talk about that today. Now, I have like a little story that I need to start with about me watching it on iQIYI, because I was put through a baffling situation. So it wasn't like appearing on like my when you open the app, it wasn't appearing on like the new shows, which was weird for me because I was like, you would think this is a pretty big show that they would have it on the thing. So I searched for it, and so like 3 different versions came up. So me being an idiot, I just clicked the first one. And it like starts with just like these beautiful sweeping mountain shots before anyone starts talking. So I'm like, yes, oh yeah, beautiful. This is nice. And then it starts. So the English subtitles begin, and you can hear like the narrator at the beginning talking. But then all of a sudden, the sound of the narrator went lower, and then there was just a Thai woman just tonelessly saying everything that was being said as like a Thai dub, but it wasn't like a dub because it was just...
She was just reading the subtitles.
She was just reading the subtitles, but in Thai, and I'm sitting here like, what is... Apparently there is a Thai, I use the word dub loosely, that came up first, and I was so confused. I was like, is there a way to turn this off? And then it turns out they're actually listed in different versions on iQIYI. So if you're watching it on iQIYI, make sure you just go for the regular with subtitles. Otherwise you would be... I'm so confused.
I luckily did not have that problem. iQIYI has just recently, just in time for this one, they've released an app for the Roku. So
really? Good. That's good to know.
Yeah. So it works really nice. Again, Jirisan, not up on the first page. Like,
yeah.
You would think this would be your banner. This would be the thing. You spent that much money on it. Like, get it out there. I had to search for it. Like, it did not. I scrolled and it never came up. I had to go into the search engine and search for it.
Same.
And find it, click on it, everything. Okay. It's nice. It's nice to watch it on your big screen. It's, you know, the app works great. The problem is the way they've got the subtitles, like the formatting for the subtitles is just white. It's just white letters, like no outline on them or anything. So we're going through like snow-covered mountains and I can't read what the narrator is saying. There was probably about a quarter of the subs that I was squinting or like inferring at least half of the words. So
it's the same with Viki on Chromecast. So when I'm at my mom and I try to watch stuff on Viki on Chromecast, it is a non-starter. Like, it is unreadable for most of, like, don't do this. Just put a nice black bar. It's fine.
Like, that's kind of your number one job in these sites. Like,
it's to make it accessible. That's the point.
Subtitles are the thing. Yeah, like,
and I mean, the other problem that I did have with it was that I didn't log into my iQIYI account, which I don't have like a VIP account or anything. And so maybe it's different if you log in 2 minutes in. I'm like, ooh, maybe I can change this in the settings, right? So I go out, check the settings. No, there's nothing to change your subtitling format. Try to go back in. There's no like what you were watching or anything. So I have to go back through the whole process of searching for it and finding it.
Crazy.
Then I click on the first episode and it starts at the beginning again because it is not tracking any of my information whatsoever. So yeah.
With my thing is that I was watching it on my iPad and the pause button, like normally on these things, they've made it so that like the pause button's right in the middle of the screen for most apps these days, but not iQIYI. The pause button is like right down the middle, and I got like my little chubby little sausages here, and every time I hit pause, it would also hit like the timeline bar right above it, and like send it right back to the beginning, and I have to be like, come on.
Man, I just watched on desktop and it was fine.
Yeah.
It was like one of the first things that I saw. I just logged in.
I don't understand.
I mean, I'm trying to think. I don't remember if it was the main banner or not, but it was definitely like one of. It was one of them. Yeah, it was one of the main ones.
Listen, all I got when I logged into mine. Well, let's see. It's probably the same, except that now it won't be because I've watched it or something. And it'll just
it's
prove
been
me
enough
wrong.
time.
But like when I go on, nothing. We got a bunch of just basically Chinese rom-coms is what it's telling me I should watch.
So, just a little bit more on the Viki thing. So, Viki is releasing it a week later, and so as of today, today's recording on so it starts on the 28th. Episode 1 drops on the 28th. As of kind of midday-ish, we're talking like 94% subs on episode 1. So that's pretty good for Viki.
It is.
And a lot of people already have, a lot of people who are more on the Korean drama side of things. Typically, Viki is one of the more popular apps, not Netflix subscriptions, one of the more
At least in
Asian
Western audiences,
for the Western folks. So if you already happen to have a Viki, I forgot. I don't think it's locked under a pass yet or anything. I think it's all Viki, but I will go triple check.
Don't expect this really easy fast subs to be a norm for Viki. They've done this before where they're like, yeah, we'll be like great in the first like 2 episodes, and then the next ones you're like, hello.
Right.
I'm just sort of hoping that this one maybe does go a little quicker due to the fact that they're not translating it from scratch. You can the subtitles already exist. Like, but you know what? I say this, and they do the same thing with Cocoa. Like, they could easily just go copy the subs.
I mean,
there
they might like legally can't do that, right?
It says Viki Pass Standard.
Okay.
So
that's like the regular.
Yeah. So probably your first 2 episodes will be just like on iQIYI, right? You can watch the first 2 episodes, and then after that, you need to have a paid pass, probably.
I always like the how they come up with the subtitle team names that are sometimes really cute.
Yeah.
So this one is Ain't No Mountain High Enough.
Oh, that's cute. Okay, that's really cute. That's really cute.
They should pay that. They should pay those people.
Like they should
that
be
cute
like,
name.
Sometimes some of the subbing teams, like they have just
you can tell they're having fun.
Yeah, they're having a good time.
So, Jirisan.
Jirisan, what is it about? What are the first 2 episodes about? Okay.
It's about a mountain. It is about a mountain.
Big mountain.
The mountain's the main character of the show.
A lot of this show is like you're watching a travelogue for I bet the tourism for this mountain goes way up. Like it's so good. It's so pretty. It's so just wow.
I hope not, because there would just be a lot more people in perilous situations.
That happen on this show.
Although it does seem like if you obey the rules, you don't get
totally.
Like,
maybe just stay on the path. That's there for a reason.
Like, I like hiking. That's one of the main things I enjoy. But even as someone who likes hiking, I'm watching this. I'm like, that'd be really hard. I'd have to be.
I'm like, listen, if I have to like fucking rock climb while I'm hiking, I don't want to do it.
That's the kind of thing that I'm into.
I would like just a nice stroll, stroll, see some beautiful sights, get out of there.
Like, if you have to go up, an incline for a little, okay, fine. But yeah. So I do think the tourism will probably go up, but I do think a lot of other people will be like, oh no, that's scary. I'm going to just watch this. Thank you.
Yeah.
There are I wouldn't say time jumps, but the way the story is told, it starts in 2018. And a lot of episode 1 is just in 2018.
Which I totally missed. So I thought that was like I missed the little like 2018 at the very beginning. So then when the time skip happened. I thought we were seeing a flashback, and then it was like, wait a minute, this isn't right. Like I was very confused,
no.
and I was like, I don't know what's. But then in the second episode, I caught all the little bits, and I was like, okay, they were probably there in the first one, and I just missed it. But like, I was so confused for a moment there.
Well, so to kind of like backtrack really quickly on like just like the brief synopsis of the entire thing, it is about the story of park rangers, and it's this one crew essentially. And I'm not good with people's names. The main guy from Kingdom,
Ji-hoon.
Ji-hoon,
Yeah.
he has just come into the job. So it starts in 2018 when this is happening, and there's actually 3 time periods in the entire thing, and it's not necessarily flashbacks in the like normal K-drama sense flashbacks. It's kind of, they're showing these 3 different
it's
time
3
periods
timelines happening simultaneously.
and they kind of fit together mysteriously because there's this big mystery, but essentially it's him joining the team. And so it focuses on the first year that he was part of this team, the 2019, which was a year where a major accident happened between him and the main female lead, and 2020, which is the after of this accident. And that's kind of what the story is about. So it is about this crew, but it's like less about this crew and more about the mysteries of what happened to them, and potentially the mysteries of this mountain, because it's very like ominous, like that, like the mountain might be living or have some sort of like fantasy element to it,
spiritual connection. It comes across kind of like there's sort of a supernatural element, but almost more like a spiritual element than a supernatural. Like it's not a whole, so far anyway, it's not like gummy hose and stuff. It's like, ooh, like just ooh.
I think it's more time jumps and parallel worlds than anything else. At least that's what they're presenting. We don't get a lot because it's only the first 2 episodes, so a lot of this is like very mysterious. But that's kind of like,
gave everything away. That would be
if you're like coming into this episode going, I don't know what's happening, that's kind of like your brief setup to what we're going to talk about. Now, obviously, we're going to heavily discuss these first 2 episodes, so there will be spoilers, and there are major spoilers within the first episode and stuff. So this is your warning now.
Like, both the first 2 episodes
go out
end,
if you
and
don't
you got
want
like
those.
jaw drops, and you're like, wait, what?
I'm actually like very shocked because people are already pretty bad, starting to be bad on the timeline about like hashtagging it or doing that stupid episode thing, and I can't stand. I'm not gonna sit here and like put in like 30
Every
different
episode.
hashtags. Like, stop.
No.
Just hashtag the show. Just stop.
I mean, it's great if you want to hashtag by episode, do that as well as the regular.
Don't make that the only hashtag.
Right? Step one that's necessary if you're discussing the show, hashtag the show title, which in this case is actually really easy because there is only one show title format. Boom.
Yeah.
You hit that one, and then if you want to add other ones, feel free.
I really thought they were gonna spoil something, so I was glad that like some of the things that didn't get spoiled. So I'm saying that right now, if you haven't watched the first 2 episodes and you wanted to, I do think that like you should actually skip listening to our episode until you have, because
after
I didn't encounter any spoilers, but I encountered some weird takes that I kept waiting to like witness for myself that
like,
never materialized. So
I never saw these takes, and Natalia was messaging me about them, and I was like, I must have blocked or muted all of those bad take giver.
Like, so one girl was like convinced that everyone was overacting, and the acting was like this huge soap opera, and I'm watching it, I'm like, no, like this all seems very reasonable. But the one that I saw most was that the CGI was terrible. And I'm like sitting here watching it.
It is,
but like not in an egregious way that would make it unwatchable.
It's definitely not in unwatchable, but like me going in knowing how like a rough estimate of how much they spent on this, it actually is, when you compare it to that, you're like, oh, that actually shouldn't be in this budget.
The way that the hot take came out that I was just like, y'all don't really know what you're talking about, was they were like, I don't see why they couldn't just go film on the mountain. And I'm like, okay. That's a logistical nightmare on so many fronts. Like, no, they cannot go film on the mountain.
You understand what it is. I will say that the times when the CGI is really bad is in times when they don't have anything to help them like mesh it in with anything. It's like blue skies behind her, so she obviously looks pretty badly in front of a green screen, and it's only like a background of a blue like sky, the mountain, like, so that's when it becomes a little bit of an issue. You're like, it's like there's the easiest ones where you're like, oh, I could see that. It's not like hindering your thing, and I only like know it like
take you out
like,
of the,
maybe you should have put more of that money into it, but like, it's not terrible.
It doesn't make it unwatchable. Why? Like, it was not as bad as people were saying. And I was just like, I'm like waiting for this like horrendously egregious CGI that's gonna completely take me out of the story, and it just like never happened. And I was like, so
see, to show you how easily pleased I am, I didn't even notice any bad CGI. I thought it all looked lovely.
The only reason I knew it was because it was like this very clear, like pretty, like it's the sunniest where it's like she's just talking about things. There's nothing happening. There's no action happening. So it's like one of those, like, you look at it and you're like, green screen. Like,
that was the one that I noticed too.
And so you're like, oh, that's not helping, because I thought it was going to be like during their rescue scenes, but it was not that.
You know what probably happened? That was probably like a refilmed insert scene. So it's like, it was probably done like way at the end, because you know that happens sometimes where it's like they realize that the take like isn't quite what they need.
Didn't quite work.
You know, so they have to like refilm it really quickly. So that could be what happened, because like the rescue scenes look great. Like,
I didn't find them.
The bad take that I saw was, I hate the American music that they play during all the action scenes and all the American music soundtracks. And I was like, these are not American groups. I don't know what you're talking about. But when you look up rock,
I will say there was
and like English lyrics. There are English lyrics throughout. I don't know. It's obviously people unfamiliar with Korean music.
Like, I didn't know it was Korean music, but I will say there were a few moments where they were playing the OST and it didn't seem to quite mesh with like what was happening on screen. But I didn't think the songs were terrible.
No,
I thought the songs were good. It's just,
I was like, I'm sure I saw a list and it was all Korean, and it is. No, it's like Daho and like BTS,
and I'm pretty sure it's a Korean composer too, like an actual dedicated composer for a lot of their.
It's like the instrumental stuff is gorgeous.
There's no American music in the soundtrack, so if you've seen that hot take, it's a
I know it's like
take, so
especially when they're doing kind of like the more action scenes, it's more rock, but like that's not exclusive to like America. I'm like, oh,
I'm also, I mean, action. This is an action show, so action often has rock music in there because.
Also, it's funny about that. Even period shows will sometimes have rock in them if there's enough action.
Or rap. Like, you'll get like rap OSTs on a historical, like, it's not
these things
unusual.
Happen. Right.
Yeah.
Just hot takes.
I never saw anybody with like the hot takes that I had. Like, so I don't know. I didn't search very, very hard for anything, but there were some things I was like, I thought someone would say something about it and they didn't. I was like, oh okay. I guess I'm in the, like,
you know what,
not in the norm.
Jesse, it's your time. Your time for the hot take, Jesse. You're like, I don't do that.
My only hot take is that like the first episode was largely not enjoyable because of the fact that they pushed the barrier of realism too much to the point where like the biggest thing that I think was like a downfall with this, like at least with the first episode, which is like 85 to 90% of the show, if you do any sort of search and rescue or whatsoever, I don't think you're gonna have like a good time watching this, because it is clear that she did not care about what actual park rangers do or actual search and rescue do. So everything that they do is highly unorganized, highly unsafe. And I know it's like it's supposed to be intense and stuff, but it passed the point of it being a thing that you can immerse yourself into. Like there was never a time where I wasn't like, oh, they all should be dead. And it's like bothering me that they're not all dead right now. Because that's what I thought. I was like, well, maybe this is what they're setting up. And that's the mystery. They're all dead because they're clearly doing stuff that they all should be dead. And the person they're like rescuing.
Yeah.
Like, my big thing was,
maybe that's the twist. Maybe they're already all dead.
They were dead all the time. No, like my big thing is, so like it starts out with this dude just arriving.
That's
and then
also a huge red flag.
They immediately send him out. Like, no, and they wouldn't send this guy out immediately on his first day. Like,
and we're saying
any gear.
First day of ever doing this. This is not just like him being in it. It's like he doesn't know how to do anything. And they're like, yeah, go grab your safety gear. And I was like, no.
This is not from another mountain. He wouldn't have safety gear. Well, there was no orientation.
That's what it started on the episode. It was like, oh God, they're doing this. And I was like, this is not, no. Okay, is he going to die in this? Is this how they set up?
Pretty much,
I understand it's a like action thing. It's not supposed to be perfect, but it's pretty clear that she did not care to even kind of make it seem like they're doing any sort of thing by the book. I mean, like people that half the team was injured within the first 5 minutes of being out.
Well, and I thought that like the one guy who just like broke his arm or whatever, they were like, man down. I thought he was dead because the situation that happened, like I thought that guy was gone because like that. I did enjoy that guy him again.
when he shows up later, like 2 year time jump, he still has 3 broken fingers. So it's like clearly this is going to be a characterization for this individual.
And the question is like, it's not like that was a funny take, you know, like it wasn't, there was absolutely no reason for it. Like there really wasn't.
I get that it's like a pretty standard trope, like, you know, to get the person right in and that sort of thing. It just like, it was hard to like be immersed in the story because it was just like a constant not doing the right things and just being kind of like haphazardly doing stuff that I like. My first impression of this crew was not that they're some great team, which they're supposed to be. That's the actual, which are supposed to be like telling me about this crew. It just seemed like they all just like didn't care and kind of did whatever they could to help people. Cause it was in that level of like, you know, when someone will be like gung-ho about stuff. And so they'll like, just like forgo everything and forgo like training or what they're supposed to do things, or like even like some of the things that they were doing just played like this was a group of people who were stuck on a mountain and they were getting into a really bad situation, but nobody had training, so everything's a mess. Like there's one point when they're like there's like 5 of them in the water and like they're all just like not holding on to things, and they're supposed to be also like trying to save someone, and I'm like, I can't, this is not like me being stressed out because it's like a high power thing. I'm like stressed out because like
you're all
none of this plays out. Like hardly, like half of them won't even put on helmets. Like I'm like,
I just
I don't number of times that our male lead gets hit in the head with stuff, and I'm like, you think maybe you'd be wearing a helmet by now, my friend?
Yeah, I was like,
okay, maybe, but
like I'm glad he really wanted to find the boy, but
I enjoyed it well enough. I did enjoy that. I felt I probably didn't have as much trouble with it as Jesse did. Like I recognized it was unrealistic, but I was enjoying the ride. Like it was like, yeah, okay, cool. And I was worried about the kids, so I was like, just fine. And the poor grandma starts crying, and I was like, oh. So
Yeah,
I mean, just,
it wasn't
in
the
it,
worst thing.
but-
Like, I definitely didn't it wasn't that
Right.
bad. I think it did cross the line that I could immerse myself and be a suspension of disbelief. They went past it.
Yeah.
And so then it also became one of those things where you're constantly like, is it because they're supposed to be bad and they're going to lose this child because they're bad? And so that was also kind of running in my head. I was like, are people going to do something that kills the kid or hinders the kid? Because that's kind of what we're setting up. But
right.
Yeah.
it wasn't. And I don't mean this to be this is the worst show that I've ever seen, because it was definitely not. And I had a lot of fun with it, but I just, especially with that first episode, I was like, maybe we could have worked on this a little bit more.
And because the focus was definitely the teams doing their thing, and if the thing isn't the realistic,
I just wanted to feel like the team was actually this as good as I'm being told
as
they
being
are.
described. Yeah,
I think it's important not to think you're getting an accurate representation of.
Well, I didn't want a super accurate,
Park
but
Rangers.
I think there's no accuracy. That I think there's not even a try at accuracy,
which is surprising given the budget, and even given the background on the writer. Whenever she figured out she kind of wanted to make this story, because I either read or watched something about she pretty much saw some Rangers doing their thing, and she was like, oh, I want to tell the story of people on the mountain doing their thing, essentially. So you would think that then it would be let's get at least a few consultants,
maybe hire a ranger or two, help you do some research,
Yeah.
I wonder if that's going to be the format for the show as a whole, is that there's the running mystery, and then we're going to have individual stories every episode as well, because the second episode was really focused around, not as intently as the first episode, but around a different a second story of a missing person. So I wonder if we're going to get those little stories every week, and then the big story,
especially because they've been kind of setting up that the big story only happens in the last 10 minutes of the show. So they've kind of already set up that the main thing is about the person that they're saving, and then
then you get a little
mystery
crumbs of the,
which I like, because I you know what I mean, I like with X-Files, I liked it when it was Monster of the Week more than when they went heavy into mythology and long-term stuff. And I like it when it's tell me this story today, but I do like that I liked that I got this story and it was it was a complete little story and I was done. And then they were but also da-da, and I was like, what? Okay, cool.
So I do have a question. So backing up to the first episode, whenever, the grandma was upset that the grandson was missing, all this stuff. And she finally shows her text message to somebody. When they show that, well, I'm saying the first time on the screen that you finally see the text message, did you guys kind of notice that there was more to the it looked like there was more to the message that she needed to page over, is what it looked like.
I did not.
I did,
but
however,
I might have misinterpreted it.
And because I went into this knowing that there was going to be some sort of supernatural thriller, mystery going on, because that's how it was presented to me, that there was going to be some sort of supernatural thing going on. And so I was kind of looking at everything while I was watching it. And I will say, I can figure out a way that this works, but I think it's odd. So when they find the backpack of the little boy and they open it up and they pull out his agenda is 2008.
Yeah, I saw that too. I was it could either be just a really old agenda because he's poor.
Yeah. Because it's one of those kind of the file of facts ones where it's a ring binder essentially. So you can put it in. But like it didn't make any sense to me that it was 2008. Like I can understand. I was like I kind of even like went back and watched to see if it was like his parents, because that's the big deal. He's going back to the place of his parents in that picture. But there's also, it has 2008 in the corner, and on the bottom it says something, but there was never a like clear enough like picture that I could like figure it out, so I could like translate it somewhere, so that like to tell me stuff. But I thought it was odd just purely because 2008 is just too close to 2018. So I didn't know if there was like some weirdness, because at that point I started to go like, what if this is like a what's that show, the Land of the Lost like type vibe, where we're just kind of like dipping into weird times, just you get to a point in there. And I was like, what if 2008 is like a
like, listen, this is a radio signal. We are, this is possible that there's something janky time.
Oh yeah, totally. Like obviously, like we're kind of going through and like, you know, some of the mystery that we'll talk about later, but like I was like, what's going on here? And then I took a picture of it, because I'm gonna be like, if it happens, if something happens, I saw it
first. That I noticed. Yeah. I saw that too, but I immediately was just like, oh, it's because he's poor. He's probably just using like,
I thought poor more than, but I was also like, I'm gonna be a critical prop person and be like, you couldn't
really?
With your budget, you couldn't get.
Yeah,
you think
if it had been any other date, that's the problem. When it was 2008 and we were in 2018, that was like big enough that I was like, then I was also kind of thinking, I was like, would they like mess up this much, or like this has to be intentional?
Maybe the prop person just doesn't speak, like doesn't do English as well or something, and so the numbers, but they use
they use those numbers,
regular numbers, like regular whatever
it's called, Arabic numbers.
Yeah, they do. So I don't know.
But you know what? You heard it here first. If something happens towards the end of the series, and this is a callback, I did it. I figured it out.
Pleasantly surprised by this sort of supernatural element to it, because I hadn't realized that was going to be a part to it. I just knew it was like mountain rangers and they rescue people, but also there's a murder mystery. And so I thought it was going to be just like, you know,
start finding bodies
killer.
everywhere.
There's a serial killer dumping bodies in the mountain.
There still might be, okay?
Which there very well might be. But like the supernatural element was like, okay, that makes me care more about the, you know, potential serial killer stuff. Like, I'm like, okay, supernaturals. Woohoo.
So the first time that we encounter any really supernatural theme in it is the Ju Ji-hoon character having visions.
Yeah, the mountain speaks to him. It tells him things.
And then later on, it sure made it sound like he was having those visions when he... It didn't sound like that's the first time that he had those visions.
It sounds like that's why he took the job. He came to the mountain because he's been seeing visions of lost people in the mountain his whole life or whatever.
And I guess later on, someone did ask him, like, why did you come to this mountain? Why didn't you go to, like, the one closer to where you're from? And he, like, of course, didn't really answer. But, yeah, that's definitely confirmed.
But,
he had those visions before he took the job. It
shows his visions, right? And they just look like any mountain. How did he know? How did he know it was this mountain speaking to him?
Well, but maybe he knows because the past ones, he then, you know, saw pictures in the newspaper or saw things of these rescues. And he was like, wait, that's that thing I saw a few weeks ago. Yeah.
Now, I will say too, okay, whenever they rescue the little boy and they find the mark,
the thing.
It is great that they understand what the crap is going on with those, but I do not understand.
I don't get it, but it's okay. It's not for us mortals to understand. We aren't psychics like, on a magical mountain.
Here's some rocks and here's some sticks, and that indicates something.
Well, because I think the idea is that the rocks are supposed to be like you've made a model of the mountain, and then when you stick the twig in, it's like this X marks the spot, right? So like this is the cave, or this is so it's over on this side of the cave. Or
so when he's about to pass out from blood loss and pain, he's able to make this thing.
Yeah.
But it was like, I don't think the kid made it. Like,
no,
Right.
but that
Isn't
doesn't make
there-
any sense. Why would the kid know?
Isn't there
Yeah.
also some beliefs where like you put stacks of
The stacks of rocks.
stones and they're like a
Yeah,
There's
I'm
like
not
a
something
even
for the
memory
name of
spirits?
that.
No, it's like
Memory.
a thing for the spirits or something like that. But I don't know what religion that is. So I don't know. I
Yeah.
kind of feel like that's like more
Well-
Native American than it is for a
Looks
Korean
like there
thing, but I
might
have
be
no clue.
a
Well, because
Buddhism.
there's like,
Oh, Buddhism
Yeah,
would be.
I think it's a
could see
Buddhist
that.
thing.
yeah, for sure. I think it seems like there's like a stacking stones thing. Because my first thought, being from Canada when I saw
They
it, was
hollow it,
Inukshuk's, right? Like
Yeah.
it kind of has that same vibe of like, I was here and I'm maybe heading somewhere else, you know, like, okay, cool. But I kept wondering because they kept talking about how this was the code that the partisans used, and they always put it in quotation marks,
But who
partisans,
are-
but
I-
the word is actually partisans. I looked it up. It's like,
Yeah,
they're
I
partisans.
went and
Like,
researched too.
why are you putting it in quotation marks? Capitalize it and just go with it. They're partisans. So
So I had to go figure out what the crap that meant because I
Yeah.
had no clue. For people like me who like had no vague idea whatsoever,
Mhm.
it seems like that term, even in other nations and stuff, is used to kind of talk about a group or army or a militarized group of people that's not like the organized national military. So kind of like like the common people militia, the people that want to fight the resistance people. It would always depend on what country you're talking about, of course, but essentially could be freedom fighters, could be whatever, but of course
Guerrilla fighters, that sort of thing. Yeah.
so in the instance of this in Korea, and they had various conflicts, but it would always be just the normal people trying to participate in the fight, and usually fighting for Korean independence is typically what they would be.
there's sort of when you there was like an actual like the Korean partisan army or whatever specifically called, but that was a pretty specific time period, and I think the term did get used more too. But this, it seems to me like this, what they're referring to is more specifically a group that existed around the Korean War time, like from the 40s to the 60s, and they were like, I don't know, it was hard to get like all
Which
the
is weird.
information, but there is like a
Maybe
there
Viki
is
will
a
tell us.
Jirisan
Yeah.
like there's on Jirisan Mountain there is a Korean partisan museum on the Jirisan Mountain dedicated
Which
to
does make
what went
more
on
sense
around
why
this
they
war.
would have like this cultural archivist coming up to take photos of it.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
I was like, because like since I had no idea what the time, I'm like, was this like some sort of like ancient?
Well,
I know, I was like, this has to be a real thing, so that's why I was researching it. Yeah.
To me, the way they first talked about it when they first found that first mark, it did make it sound like, to me, like
It was like a Joseon
much
era,
older, like
something.
Joseon
Yeah,
era.
that's what I thought too.
old.
But I mean, I guess when you think we're talking like 80 years, it could, that's a long time for a stick and a piece of wood to like
Yeah,
sticks and
stay there
stones
with
to
like
stay
weather
there.
and stuff.
I mean,
Now-
80 years is still a long time.
Now to think about it though,
You're
too, they could be saying like they're just assuming that it's partisan stuff
Yeah,
because that is a common occurrence.
Yeah, that's the red herring. And this, I feel like it plays into like the alternate universe type thing. So like the alternate universe person did that, and the other universe like person is looking at it and being like, oh, this is from blah blah blah. And really,
Well-
the alternate universe did it like a day ago.
I'm kind
Right,
of questioning
yeah.
a little bit too, like the mountain speaking to him to help him. I'm like, but is it really helping him? Because like so far, all the times that the mountain has done something to help, something bad has come out of it. Like,
The
I-
mountain is
but how
evil.
did the cell phone
I kind
work?
of have a
And
theory.
it's like-
It's not the mountain helping him; it's his alternate universe self
Yeah,
helping him,
But like, they're like, how did the
or
cell
like
phone,
time travel,
kid was
whatever.
in a
something.
the kid's in a cell phone free service free zone, but he somehow got a cell phone, a text message out. Oh, the mountain must have helped him. I'm like, but if that's true, that text message had you guys all searching in the wrong area because you were like, oh, must be in an area with cell phone service because he sent out a text message, but he was in an area with no cell phone service. So then the mountain was not helping. Like, I'm just saying, that wasn't helpful. You sent us in the wrong direction.
Tied to actual spirits, because since what we kind of know of what he is as of like the second episode, he's like in a coma or something, and per other K-dramas that deal with people in comas,
that means he's walking around.
Yeah. And what if like the signal that the kid got was actually from his parents' spirits, and because then with the like the like you could say that like maybe the spirit of the guy that was killed from the person, whoever he was attached to him, like that could have been a lead into that scenario too, because like not everybody's like living or is like tied to non.
Well, because also, I mean, in the second episode, the vision he sees of the bloody hand, and then it was his bloody hand. If he hadn't followed the vision, he never would have got stabbed.
Like what if like in the future he's in a coma and he's like traveled
sending back all of this information
into this time, and to like he's like stopping
coma,
everything.
I mentioned this. He's in a coma at this point, episode 1.
We never follow any sort of path whatsoever with these things. I don't know if you've noticed this. I, as the person who has to figure out time codes, like I just give up. But like it could be that like he's like trying to stop things because like everything that's happening like leads to whatever happened in the snow. Like maybe the thing that happened in the snow is actually not like a supernatural thing, but like every point that happened before that led up to that. So if they hadn't done those steps, she wouldn't be in a wheelchair, he wouldn't be in a coma, and this is his way of trying to figure it out.
And so then basically we're watching like Signal, but like the Sticks and Stones version instead of like
actual transmission.
Yeah.
We could be wrong though. We could be totally wrong, but this does seem plausible.
We're only 2 episodes in.
But also
in the 4 episode like actual give the background arc.
So did you guys have any inklings about the chief guy before it was made really obvious later on?
I'm worried that they're making it too obvious.
I think they're doing it too obvious.
I think it's going to be a mountain ranger, but I don't think it's the chief. That's my call.
I would say that he probably has some sort of tie to the main character's like character. Like maybe he knew him as a child, but that's like
that's a classic.
But like I didn't get it at all in the first episode in that initial chunk.
No.
There was they weren't, he wasn't doing like twisting his evil mustache or anything.
No, the only like really he was pissed off at what everybody was doing, but like that was it. There was nothing.
That was reasonable. It was reasonable to be mad that people are disobeying your rules and going out to get themselves killed. So, but maybe it is. Maybe it's him from the alternate universe, but this him is I don't know.
I've got to read this. No last year I did a post where I had like the anticipated dramas, and Cliffhanger was already out at that point, so I have my post on it. And I just wanted to read you what it said, because I had all of the like synopsis that like MDL or whoever had at the time in there, and so it's the mystery drama is about park rangers who work to rescue people at Mount Jerry. Jun Ji-hyun and will play So Yi Kang, the top ranger who knows everything about navigating Mount Jerry National Park. And it was cited as a thriller mystery. And my comment was, I think this one is going to be really cool. If it had a supernatural tag, it would remind me of an episode of The X-Files.
You spoke it into existence.
The powers are still working. The powers are still working. I do have a concern, and Sky and I were actually discussing this concern. The wheelchair. My concern is not that she's in a wheelchair. My concern is where they're taking this plot of the wheelchair, because we've been burned before by terrible disability
I
situation.
Representation.
I have a feeling that something along the lines of like what Jesse's saying about like they're trying to change the history. We're going to end this with him not in a coma and her not in a wheelchair. That's my call right now.
Yeah.
But that's also because every K-drama,
what would be great
let
though
people still be disabled because that's
would
not a happy
be
ending.
to let
I
her
roll.
be. It would,
Now,
it would be.
the one thing that I found a little less than believable was that this ranger station was wheelchair accessible.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't think so.
The
Like,
part that I found really funny
from what I know about accessibility,
And the fact that they were all shocked, like super shocked, not just that she was there, but kind of like, how did you get here? In
yeah, they
your
also
chair?
did this weird thing, and I guess it was her trying to kind of the writer trying to like mask it so you had a grander reveal. But the one girl who plays the junior ranger from Sweet Home and Youth of May, or Youth of May, she, when they were talking about her, she had no clue who she was, didn't know that, like, she was like, she was like, who are you talking about? Who are you talking about? And you find out that they're talking about her and the other guy. And you would think that like she would at least know because it would have been a major accident at that place.
but also
so you would
later
know.
she tells her that she's like her hero.
That's the thing.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, they switch it.
But
and
I wonder
then
if that was
magically
more of
the
like
hero.
now that I found out about you, you're my hero. You know what I mean? Like somebody can become your
That's
hero
possible.
pretty quickly, right?
Yeah,
but,
it just
she
set
made
up
it seem
like
she made it seem like I became a ranger because
it
of
was
you almost.
Is that scene where
level.
she goes to see, like give her the sandwich
Yeah.
and she's like, yeah, this, I look up to you. You're the reason, I'm here. And I'm like, you didn't know who she was.
Yeah.
And then we're not that far away from the
that she was
accident.
just
It's a
really
year
excited
out,
that there was like another girl at the station and she was like, oh, thank God there's a woman here.
God.
She was so excited.
My thing
Poor
was,
girl's
I really,
the youngest one too.
I really enjoyed the insert of everyone being so impressed, or like her being so impressed that like this woman had, organized the whole office. And I'm just sitting here like,
you're like, everything.
She's in a wheelchair. Like, that doesn't mean she can't organize papers. It's not amazing.
Dust. Like the girl checked for dust, like way up high, and I was like,
I'm like,
the wheelchair girl did not clean that.
No, she has one of those Swiffer extenders.
It's 2020. We have an extender. There's
I thought the point was simply that the other ranger dude, hadn't been doing a good job with paperwork.
Incompetent.
And so the younger girl was just like, she did all your work that you haven't done for the past few years, punk.
Yeah, in like a day, in like a 4-hour like
4-hour span.
My teenager, my 17-year-old, she wants to be a paramedic. She walked into the room at one point when Ji Hyun's character was like coming in her wheelchair and stuff, and she went, oh, that's cool. And I went, what? And she goes, no, I'm really impressed because most TV shows get that wrong. She's got a person in a wheelchair, not a hospital wheelchair. Like
I did notice that they had like wheelchair. They had like the strap on the legs and stuff, and I was like, oh,
yeah, like her knees. She has her knees like all tight. Like it. They're doing a good job with that. Like she doesn't. She doesn't look like she's just gonna hop up out of that wheelchair any moment. Like I'm tricking you all. Like it's
the scam.
She looks like she's somebody who's been in a wheelchair for a little while. Like
park ranger station. She's like, I'm gonna like infiltrate by this.
Yeah, but like she wouldn't have had to do that. She already worked for the park services. It was unnecessary.
Also, now that I think about her character, it kind of is interesting that she told the chief supposedly pretty much all of her motives for coming back, because her 2018 self is a very like close to the chest type person. And it's obvious that she doesn't even really respect most of her comrades other than like the authority figure above her. So she would tell the chief things that she had to, but pretty much everyone else, she's like, you're all idiots. Like she really wouldn't tell them anything, right? Now, that didn't change because then in 2020, she just is telling the chief, but she sure does reveal a lot. And that doesn't, she's such a play close to the chest type person that's kind of interesting that once she got kind of cornered, I suppose she had.
But she still won't tell him why she went up on that snowy mountain.
That's true. She is keeping that.
Yeah.
One of the things I did like about her character, though, is that, you know, we talk a lot on here about strong female leads, and that she's strong, she's good at her job, she's, you know, competent and everything. But she's also a caring person. Like, she goes to the grandma and sits with her. She, like, there's a lot of these moments where she's like doing caring, thoughtful things as well. And they haven't made, like, you know, how so often it's like, if they could kick butt, then they're also big jerks, or they're like, you know, cold-hearted and they don't have emotions. Or
I think she was supposed to.
That's not a strong female character in that sense.
But like, I think she was supposed to, because they tell him straight up that she's terrible and she's mean, but she never actually like is into it. And I don't think they're doing it in a like the other people are not reading him or reading her correctly. I think it was just like a thing they were going to do, but then they didn't. I don't think it carried on through the show.
When they call like the way they call her Devil So or whatever, I just thought they meant that in the sense of like her being a daredevil. Like she's just pushes everybody too hard. She's willing to do
that's what I'm saying. Like,
probably shouldn't.
She seemed like she was supposed to be like a drill sergeant.
Yeah.
Because they really did warn him, and then she didn't do anything with him, even though he was completely incompetent. And she, like, in those moments, you're like, this is like the time where you would be yelling at him.
You know what? There was this one scene where I felt that he was just a mood, and it was when they're on patrol in one scene, and he's like, I need to rest, like, please let us rest. But then it cuts to him just collapsed on the ground, like with his backpack still on, just like lying there, like wheezing, and I'm like, mood.
Yeah.
Mood.
I liked the other scene of both of them laying down, like after they had completed the first rescue, and they're just both laying there and turning off their like radios, like, no, we're just gonna lie here because that was a lot. We did a lot. Like,
I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, like it's fun.
I really am super into the mystery. It's gonna be really hard to watch this weekly though. I think this is a one where you need to be able to binge the amount that you need to collect some clues type thing, and not just be constantly cut off by two. So I think that's going to be the real trouble in this series.
I agree. Like, so, I was sort of like, I think I won't have a problem waiting for Viki to have the episodes for me, but at the same time I'm gonna have to like do some serious muting or scrolling with my eyes closed. The problem. And this stuff, is not, you know,
like, this is popular enough. Like, I'm not getting lucky enough like my like normal crime shows where it's like at least I only have to mute like 2 people and be fine with it. This is not the show that I could do that. So I'd have to be on top of it. And it does feel like you will lose a lot if you are constantly getting told these kind of mysteries. So
the twist, because it kind of reminds me of Memories of Alejandro a little bit, as far as a lot of people watching it just because of the star power involved. And then if you get spoiled on something in particular, it can literally ruin like your entire watching experience.
We sort of had said earlier, but I have been very impressed so far that like there's been a little bit, but mostly what I've seen, like with the first episode, most of what I saw was, wow, didn't see that ending coming. But no like spoilers about the ending. So I was like, okay
I'm like weary because I feel like that's maybe a product of it being on iQIYI and not on Viki. And once it gets more on Viki, but it gets well, I'm not going to be continuously watching it on iQIYI.
Like most of the people on my Twitter, like on my timeline, who are avid iQIYI users are not avid K-drama watchers.
Yeah, they're more like Chinese dramas.
Yeah, they're C-drama watchers. Yep. So it's like, I don't think that since it hasn't dropped fully on Viki yet, that we've gotten the
really like
Chinese
on mine,
watchers.
like I knew Annie was like excited about it, but I think that's the only other person I knew that knew really about it before it aired.
Mhm.
at least on my thing. So like she'll be fine, you know.
She doesn't post spoilers, so
Yeah, she
Uh,
tags correctly too.
Yeah,
It's like easy.
she
so.
puts the
Um,
hashtag.
Shout out to Annie.
We
Yeah.
appreciate
Good job with those hashtags.
Thank you.
Good job. Good job.
we appreciate correct hashtag title use in this
Mhm.
house.
So
Yeah.
if you're gonna
We
post
do.
about it, please hashtag the show, not the you can hashtag the episode if you want, but also if hashtag the show.
Step
Mhm.
1 is hashtag the show.
Yeah.
Step
What
2,
makes me
if you want to
laugh
hashtag anything else.
is when people like hashtag the episode, but like in their post, they'll say the name, you know, so they'll say something like, wow, this episode of Jirisan was really, it would be so simple to just put a hashtag in front of that.
It's got to
And
be
then
people
you're
who never
covered.
like went through Twitter with like the half the characters that we have now. That's what I think. Like,
Yeah,
I don't think you're like
people just don't
gotten
know.
to that point where you're like you had to be real creative with your tweet.
Yeah.
Back in the day. Oh my goodness. Back when the like titles started getting ridiculously long and we were like, that's the whole tweet. Like I can't do. So we had to like make up our own hashtags.
So back to the topic of
The show that we're talking about. Yes.
the figure that we have seen.
Ooh,
Yeah.
the mysterious. figure.
Well, it's not really
So-
mysterious.
So what do we think about this figure that we've seen? Do we think that based on the costuming it is like from a much older time period, or just likes to wear robes just for kicks and giggles?
Now,
like,
what
I thought it was like a poncho kind of thing. Like it was just that's kind of
Now,
what he
okay,
had
listen,
on, you know?
we could be being played here, and the way that I'm saying this is because, like, the partisans, that was a term for North Korean spies in the area, so we could just be being played with a spy drama. It could just be a North Korean
That's
spy
true.
who's been hanging out on the mountain for a real long time.
I
But
mean,
I
they
don't
could
think that's what it is,
also
but I'm putting it out
be
there.
playing us and trying to like, okay, so it was definitely him in the thing because of editing, you could clearly see his face when it transitioned into the
Mhm.
outro credits,
Yeah.
which almost seemed like you weren't supposed to be able to do that. It was just
Mhm.
a bad
Yeah.
fade, because you can clearly see him. Like
Yeah.
I could
didn't
screenshot
Once
see
it
that.
changes, you're like, oh,
clear
that's
his,
who it
his
is.
face.
Yeah.
But I wonder
didn't-
if like it wasn't supposed to be him,
Yeah.
like so that was supposed to be like a mystery and they just used him because he was on set type thing, or like
Yeah.
they wanted to make sure that you thought it was him, so they used him as his body type, and it's not
'Cause-
supposed to be him, but like they already showed his face, so
Yeah,
that's enough.
'cause
I don't know.
I was terrified until the outro started, and I was like, "Oh, it's him. He's not killing that girl." Like,
Yeah.
okay, fine. Like, you know, which I mean, maybe he is. Maybe he's got an evil twin. I don't know. Like, who knows? But like when that at the end of the second episode, when that girl, the young ranger, starts walking off into the mountains, I was like, "Oh no, I don't like this. I
Girl,
do not like this.
girl,
I do not like
what
this
are
at
you?
all.
What is you doing?
I like this
Don't
little
do
girl, and I
this.
want her to be around. I like her little pigtail braids and." Like,
Because she could
And-
definitely see. I don't know.
So-
It just could be a lot of things too. She could be just like she could see things that like nobody else can, or they're gonna show off the episode and she's like not even looking at him. She just like thought she saw him. And, you know?
Yeah.
yeah, it could
We'll
be
have to see we'll have to see
completely
next
different
week.
scenario, like things that are happening, but they've edited it together so that we think he's standing in front of her, but like
That's a different
we'll
timeline.
start the
you
next
know.
one and it's
Is-
two totally different things going on.
Is
or-
the character on the like cloak thing? Is it tied to the mountain? Like, is there like, and you know how like they start off doing the kind of promotional thing? Like, is there
Mhm.
anything that like had that as like maybe that's their logo for all of the mountain stuff? So like
no.
it's something that he could have found, because I kind of feel like it's either something to play with like him finding a group of people, or he found it lying somewhere so that he's using it as his shelter in this alternate universe or something. I don't know.
Mhm.
We're gonna find out eventually, I'm sure.
Oh well, yeah.
What-
I hope
what do we-
so.
What do we think about like the yellow, like
Oh,
the
that's
whole-
weird.
yellow ribbon, and then how she found the yellow ribbon in the chief's
so
drawer.
the yellow ribbon thing has real serial killer vibes to me.
Very.
I'm not saying it is, but I'm saying
especially in that, was it in the second episode when you saw somebody retying them, like changing them and stuff? It was like, I don't like this.
I sure thought for a while, like when we first met the dude that was pretending to be the son, which was obviously not the son, and all those things. I really thought it was him, right? And then when it was obvious, like, I don't think that was him. That seemed like a lot of work for him. And then it ended up in the chief's desk.
It also like worked out because like he already knew like some of the stuff that the park rangers already had on them that like normal people wouldn't. So like it seemed right that he would know then to undo the like ties. Like he seemed like he would know that that's the thing.
I gotta be honest, I'm gonna be really mad if it's like a whole thing and the like serial killer is just an angry park ranger who's mad at people who go hiking in the wrong spot. So he kills these people who
the illegal hikers.
You know, like I'm gonna be mad if that's the thing, because like that's kind of lame for everything they're setting up here.
It'd be really funny if it was the glasses ranger guy.
I could just
I mean, he's not around in the now times, right? So like maybe he's off in the mountain murdering
or maybe not.
people.
No, he's not. He's
not. We haven't seen him.
It's only old broke fingers who's around. And,
I could see it not actually ending up being like any sort of like serial killer type thing, and this was like more of like the person who was redoing the ties was like him in whatever alternate universe or whatever it is, because then it forced people to find him easier than what his initial thing, because at that point he's still only like a couple of days on the job. He doesn't know how to tie off things. Like if he didn't know how to do the amount of stuff he did when he first got there, there's no way he knew how to tie off things correctly and in the way you're supposed to, right? So like maybe it was him, and maybe like it is not going to be any sort of like serial killer, and maybe it's more of a something happened at like there was some sort of like snow event or something that happened when the two of them were together, and essentially she's not saying anything about it because she feels like she's the one who put him in that situation, like she failed him, and that might be the only person that she's like technically failed because she's supposed to be so good, or like he did something so she would be saved, and that's why she can't bear to talk about it because of that. And so it's more of disaster consequences than actual like serial killer. But it could also see some like sort of like maybe someone doing something to the mountain that like forces it to happen. So contractors doing something that like,
especially the way she said we were protecting the mountain.
Like there's kind of like great sense of them like really being, and like they are proud of the mountain the way it is and the natural thing. And it would be actually like a cool, interesting thing if that was like sort of the case where people were starting to destroy it, or land developers or something, which is like a K-drama like trope. So that could work out. But like it could also be tied to the fact that, you know, the one guy who died, he was taking trees from that area, and it could be tied to that as like a greater thing.
When
I had never heard of such before. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Like when they when you were saying earlier about the hot takes about the you know, like why didn't they just film on the mountains? And I thought obviously you didn't watch the second episode where they talked about like how you had to like destroy so much forest in order to get like stuff up to get trees down and stuff. Hello, that's
which
why they
could
don't
also
film
be
on
like
the mountain.
You know, like if it was someone doing something, like yes, they could be not directly a serial killer, but they do something that creates an avalanche that puts them in the position or something, or they like personally were on the hunt for them or something like that. I just feel like it's gonna be something like that, and more of the mystery is him trying to help his past self or something like that.
Because I do feel like something specific happened in the snow, because when they sort of did that little flashbacky montage bit, like it wasn't really clear, but it seemed to me like he got hit over the head.
Mhm.
Like, but
you know, just like
you know,
he has
stuff
before.
falls, so like maybe not, but like
And
so maybe that's it. Is that they're trying to make us? That's the red herring. They're trying to
Okay,
make us think
no.
serial
Okay,
killers.
total red herring. This is all just a coma dream. That this
Yeah,
man
none of
is
it's
having.
real.
None of it's real.
Not even really a
yeah.
coma dream. He's just like unconscious. He's gonna
Dallas
wake
or
up and be
whatever.
fine.
He's gonna wake
Yeah,
up.
It's gonna be Wizard of Oz, and he just, you know, wakes up and you were there, and you were there.
I
We're all
remember.
gonna be like,
I think
okay,
this might
new guy.
have been. This might have been a Canadian show, but when I was growing up, there was a show that I
Odyssey?
think, yes,
Yeah.
the Odyssey, that all just took place with this kid in a coma. Like the whole thing was just this kid's fever coma dream.
Well,
And it was
did they do
wild.
that Saint Elsewhere or whatever? It was the
But it
kid.
was like
Wasn't the,
Odyssey. It was like an actual, more of a, almost like an alternate universe type thing, because
Mhm.
all the kids in this coma ward were in this coma dream.
oh,
And like, and
I
then
think
they
it's-
started waking up and stuff, and some of them had like weird memories, and they there was
Saint Elsewhere where they like it wasn't actually part. It was like a medical drama,
Mm-mm.
and then like for the last episode they made it like it was a kid holding like a snow globe. Does this sound
Oh,
familiar
okay.
to anyone?
I've never watched
Mm.
Saint
I've
Elsewhere.
never watched St. Elsewhere either.
I gotta figure it out.
I know the one that I know about is the Bob Newhart show and
Mhm.
Newhart. So he had two different shows with different characters. So one he's a psychiatrist, and then the other he's an innkeeper, which
Yeah.
that one took place in later years. So at the end of that one, the last episode, he wakes up as his old show character with his old show character wife, and the entire innkeeping show was a dream. Love it.
That's clever. That's clever. I liked when Married with Children did the like a whole season was a dream, because they wrote her pregnancy into
Yeah.
it, and then she
Mm.
miscarried, and they were like, yeah, we're not going to make you have a baby in the next season, so
Yeah.
it was all a dream, and now we move on. And I was like,
That was
Nice.
nice.
that's yeah.
Mhm. It is Saint Elsewhere. Saint Elsewhere, the final scene depicts an autistic child, Tommy Westfall, staring into a snow globe containing the Saint Eligius hospital building, and it suggested that the entire series was a figment of Tommy's imagination as he spent his days staring into the globe.
Oh,
But it was like a medical drama. It never had
Yeah.
any sort of fantastical
Yeah.
things. So
Mhm,
like,
Look, if you want to watch this Canadian children's show, it's all on YouTube. If you just search
Is
the
it?
Odyssey,
Okay,
it'll come
cool,
up.
cool.
I think I've
Yeah.
watched
Which
it.
Ryan Reynolds, that's one of his first
feel like
roles.
I've watched
Ryan
it.
Reynolds was in that, so
Mhm.
I
Oh my
remember.
god, do you remember the this is totally off topic, but he was in that one show. I'm pretty sure it's a Canadian show where it's the high school that's on the boat.
Yeah. With
Yeah.
Ryan Gosling.
Oh, yeah. What was it called? Oh shit!
It was like the
Something
study
high or
abroad. Yeah,
something. It was
something.
like-
Yeah.
yeah. But they're on a cruise ship. Like it's high school on a cruise ship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's funny.
It was a lovely dream, wasn't it? Like that.
Those were the days.
So for Jirisan, the lottery ticket situation, did you think that
Oh.
was like fun, or did you think it kind of didn't fit? Did you think it was
I think that
okay aside?
they were getting a lot of lovely funding through fines in that episode. Here's park
And-
services.
It kind of makes sense, the idea that people would do stupid, foolish things and break the law and stuff because like, ooh, lottery ticket. But like,
I kind of assumed that
It
it
was a
was like
little-
kind of one of those like just a story to share what like people will do, because she does end up, getting lost. And so it's kind of one of the showing park rangers doing their thing.
Yeah,
This
because
is
it
what something-
can't all be, life
Yeah.
and death
I will
situations.
say
Like there would
that
be
kind of
stupid stuff too.
brings up something that I thought was like interesting, and I personally really liked it, was if you watch the main trailer for this show. Now, granted, they always do this sort of thing, but the main trailer, about half of the trailer is really high sporadic comedy, and it is nowhere to be seen in this series, and like the parts that they show in that are literally from these episodes.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen that way, or it doesn't like played up that way, which I thought was really interesting. And I really enjoyed that, because it just didn't seem right to have that sort of high comedy and like this disaster type drama, however it was going to play out, which was an interesting thing to see. The lotto scene was like the most like kind of comedic part about it, but it wasn't even really anything comedic. It was more just a little bit heightened, like light situation.
Yeah.
And it even ended up showing like someone you wouldn't really suspect, kind of, I can't think of the terminology, but you know, getting an endangered plant and having it in their backpack, and they're going to take that. And then but then I did like the way she solved it by just using a receipt and pretending it was the lottery.
I thought the ticket. Yeah. I did. I thought it was good because there were bits of comedy throughout, like, but they were subtle moments, like that one moment where the historian was in the cave and he looked out, and the two of them were both like meaning funny, and that looked funny, but it wasn't like
took like 5 seconds out of the thing, you know. It wasn't like a full thing.
Kind of a lighter moment,
or it's like where she's making all the pancakes and running her grandmother's restaurant and being like, where is she? And then it just turns around and she's like drinking with all the dudes, like, get out with my bros.
Yeah, like the comedy felt more realistic, which it should be for this type of show, but I did feel like the lottery ticket thing did feel a little I don't know, like I thought there would be a little bit more to it. Like she finds the girl lost in the woods, but like I don't know, that just sort of I was like, oh, okay, we're still doing that story.
In Korea, is it allowed to give money? Maybe that's the whole point of that series, was to show the lotto ticket. And
maybe it was the product placement.
Maybe.
Which I think if I were doing the show, I would just like every backpack, every like
that's
like a load of stuff.
Helmets. There should be more helmets, and there should be more hats too. By the way, there is a lack of sun protection,
all safety equipment, because those companies give.
Because they keep on going on like a hike, and it will be in a non-wooded area. It'll be like on the mountain part, and no one's wearing hats or helmets or anything. I'm like, you're gonna get a sunburn, something fierce, but whatever. Have fun.
So I don't think they're actually gonna do this in this show, because it kind of doesn't seem like it's playing up to that. But there's actually like a lot of lore with the forest in specific like ghost stories, and one of the major like ghost stories that you hear about is people getting lost, and it's like throughout every single culture has like a thing like this
type situation.
And like I kind of find that interesting that like it's shaping up to not be any sort of this lore, which is like would be a massive thing that like almost everybody watching the show would like pick up on, and that's kind of interesting, like because it's more of like where, you know, people would hear their like name being called or something, so they'll like go from the group purposely, and it's like supposed to be essentially a wandering ghost trying to take its prey, and I don't think that this show is kind of doing that, but I don't know, maybe we'll show up in the end too, just as a thing.
Maybe the yellow ribbon person.
Evil spirit. Wait, listen, we don't know where this is going.
We
don't know what direction.
But that's what's nice about it. Like like
it's not obvious.
Well, I mean, the Lovers of the Red Sky had the mountain had I mean, I don't think it's the same mountain. It's a different mountain range that they're by, but like it's like this spirit, this tiger spirit that guards the mountain. So like maybe there's a spirit guardian that's also known, you know, like
there's also lore about there's a tiger who can mimic like people's voices, and so it lures. You should watch The Mimic, this horror movie. It's great. But that's like a big thing, like it can like lure like children and stuff into caves and stuff and take their souls as its prey.
It really is one of those things where it makes you wonder, like, what are we missing? What subtle bits, you know, like the thing with the partisans. Does everybody in Korea, when they say partisan, they're like, yeah, okay, the partisans, of course, they were in the mountains. They like, yep, we know that because we learned it in history, because that's, what you do when you're in Korea, you learn Korean history, right?
Yeah.
Like, so all those little, like, are people in Korea, I mean, I'm sure people in Korea are having a completely different watching experience than we are, obviously, but like, are they getting certain hints and certain things that we're missing because we're not immersed in the culture and the folklore and the history and all that
kind
stuff.
of like that outfit, just
they might know something that we don't.
Like automatically, it really might be like, oh, that takes me back to such and such.
I had put off on reading this Wikipedia article about Mount Jerry because I was like kind of afraid of like spoilers, but
spoilers.
I just read about like stuff. Now I will say it does say there are 7 major Buddhist temples on Jirisan. It is the second tallest mountain in South Korea after Jeju Island's Halasan, and it contains several national treasures, mostly stone artworks.
Oh, interesting.
From 600 900. The mountain is also home to the Cheonggak-dong, the Zur Crane Village, Alpine Valley, which includes the Samsunggung, the Three Sages Palace, which is a site celebrating one of Korea's foundation myths.
From a tourism perspective, there's clearly a lot of good stuff to see in the mountains without even, going into the like
illegal
trekking
parts?
in the mountains stuff. Like, you could just go see a lot of historic sites and museums, which is, I gotta be honest, that's what I like to do when I go places.
I mean, there's definitely, I could see like, Koreans, especially if they know the history of that mountain, maybe there probably is a lot to deal with the actual historical stuff with the mountain.
Because if you think about just how we have even like, Mother Goose stories, I mean, we have larger myths that we're used to, like European myths and stuff, but then there's the simple like children's things and the simple like Ring Around the Rosie is this. So, I mean, there's always these smaller things that are harder for, as Western people, for us to even know about, much less pick up on whenever.
And like, just not purely like literal, like as a writer, like I would, like if I was going about like being like, hey, I'm going to do the story about Mount Jerry, I would probably go and search the legends about it and tie everything that I did to these kind of actual events. And we do that a lot too with like, like the fables and stuff. We just like kind of redo them in different media, like reinterpret them. So
and we might do it in a very subtle way, or even upend it to where, again, someone that might not be as familiar, it'd be very difficult for them to interpret it like that, because it's like the reverse or something.
Like, we could like see something and be like, oh, this is like definitely inspired by Hansel and Gretel, but like someone else could not have that like same situation.
Who didn't have a Hansel and Gretel style myth in their upbringing. They wouldn't know.
Right. Or just like local lore too. Like there is like the actual like local cryptoid thing here in Louisville. Like I would like be able to pick that up out of a piece of media that like a lot of people wouldn't, just like even just in that kind of like being around the area in a small like population, knowing it.
That is something doesn't seem like they have a Bigfoot, do they?
Do they? I don't think so. I'm like so interested in like, I kind of want to just like give up everything and just like research Asian myth and lore and stuff. Like I was like really like thinking about that.
Time to go get that graduate degree.
But I was like, maybe I should do that.
So if you look at the cast, just like lots of other big name shows, you have a handful of Kingdom people in this. Even right out of the gate, the narrator guy, one of the main guys from Kingdom.
Like the three main staff were all the three main, like the two main people were in Kingdom.
And then the like most of the first like group that you see, like the guy who becomes the later, like the officer later, he's the one that's with Bae-Junal, and then just like their general leader, but he's also in like everything under the sun too. So you're like, I know him from like every single drama.
No, like I was watching it and like I was lying on my side and I had my I was in bed and I was lying on my side and I had my iPod propped up like in front of me and it was leaning against my husband, so I could see the screen, but he couldn't. And then he was like, when the guy who plays the you know, like the chief or whatever starts talking, Matthew was like, I know that man. I know that voice. And I was like, it's this guy. He's like, I knew it was that guy. Like, he's in everything.
It's the guy from It's Okay, also in Kingdom too. I feel like he might be, but yeah, he's one of them.
It makes me want to have us make a bingo card with these kind of the support character people, like
We
character
should do
actors,
that.
to where, I mean, you can start just looking at this one, like, oh, you know, the chief guy, he's in a lot of stuff, you know, just the handful of people.
Definitely do this.
You add a sticker every time you see them to find
Because
out.
we could do multiple ones too. We'd have enough to do multiple ones, and then you could like have it in like while you're watching a drama, you're like, oh, it's that person.
Write down the drama name.
And you could come up with like, you know, do cameos, like, do cameos count or not? Like, do they have to actually have a role?
No.
And everyone gets to come up with their own level. And that's what I like about the bingo thing, because, like, you can be as flexible or as strict with yourself as you want to be. It's not like it's a big deal.
So I'm, like, looking at the kid who plays, like, the kid who goes missing in the first episode. Dear God, he's been in so much stuff.
He was so good.
He was good.
Super sad.
Good. Like, he literally... his like earliest, so he was born in 2010 and his first thing is from 2013. Like, this kid's been doing it since he was 3. Like,
wow.
My God. Very cute, very cute child.
Looking too at the director, so I knew the director was the director of Descendants of the Sun and Goblin and Mr. Sunshine, and you know. But we were mentioning all the Kingdom actors that are in this. And then earlier we had also mentioned the girl is from Sweet Home. This director did Sweet Home. So
he also did Dream High and Dream High 2. Clearly his magnus opus. So
he has a range.
So just putting it out there, like, you know, quality. He knows a quality when he sees it.
Oh man, the filming began in September of last year and then had to pause in December because of COVID. I did see, I don't remember the total off the top of my head, but this was a really big budget thing, and it was about 32 billion won was put into this. iQIYI donated, or not donated, they have a producer credit now, but like they invested 80% of that. So this is a huge. So
if you're wondering why it's on iQIYI and not Netflix, that's why it's on iQIYI and not Netflix.
And also, I do know, like, this is supposed to be tied to their push into their own original stuff. So it was like, it's like a part of like almost like a celebration for them to get their stuff. And especially now I've seen some articles that have been coming out because of they are a company that is like Chinese and has Chinese stuff, and now they're going to be heavily impacted. They are switching their model to focus on outside of China a lot more because
they
of
have
all
to. The shenanigans that have been so
but
like, they do have a lot of like Thai stuff on there too. So
if it wasn't obviously produced by iQIYI, it would be very like, oh, this does feel like Netflix level, right? But good on iQIYI for like expanding their business model, because they need to. So anything else about Jirisan to wrap it up? We're all enjoying it.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, it's definitely on my list.
Watch.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that it would be such a fun binge.
Yeah. Well, I feel like Jesse was saying, I'll probably wait until December when it's finished and then watch it all then.
I'm gonna try to. Who knows? I have a lot of dramas coming out in November too. So
yes, there's a plethora of interesting situations.
So
I've got a lot that I'm watching already that it's just like
same.
Okay.
So
if I wait, it's purely because of wanting to watch it in succession order and not like a I don't need to put in my list now type thing.
Right.
But I'm like really intrigued by the mystery, and that's like what's like my favorite part about this is the mystery to it. So I'm like into like seeing how that like progresses. I think we really should do a spoiler episode on this
Once it finishes.
finishes, because I think it would be really cool to kind of compare it to what we're saying now in this.
So look forward to that in December or January. I'm sure there'll be something of that nature coming out.
I think I'll probably be watching it on a weekly basis. Not because I think it would be a better binge. I really do. But I've noticed throughout the couple of years I've been watching dramas, these types of dramas, if I don't get spoiled on it, I still get spoiled to the point where it's like I get people's vibes of like displeasure or things like that, and that does affect my expectations, or that does affect how I then go back into it, if that makes sense. And I shouldn't allow myself to be that impressionable with it, but it sometimes then affects my motive to go finish it.
I do the same thing.
Able to be in my own headspace or my own interpretation of it for a good chunk of it. So, and the kind of the only way to do that and be active on Twitter is to, I mean, yes, I can mute hashtag. I probably will, but you know, in order to keep my own thoughts with interacting with the media, I've kind of noticed I either have to keep up on it or I really have to like not really be on Twitter for it. Like I really have to not hear anything about it, even like soupy stuff. Like, no, don't tell me.
Especially soupy. Soupy's the worst. They like spoil stuff like
a couple days later, this is what happened.
Well, like I have to expect Viki too. Like Viki's really bad with it, right? Like their social media. I have to expect them to like have stuff from the first 2 episodes, just like, even though they don't have the second episode up yet, they're going to be like, woo, that was amazing. And you're going to like, you don't even have that episode yet. Stop it. Like, just zip it.
Anyway, this has been our episode about Jirisan, the new iQIYI TVN mountain mystery, supernatural, maybe murder, who knows? We don't know what's going on. Thank you for listening. We love all of our listeners. You can listen to us wherever, podcasts can be found pretty much. But if you want all the time codes and links to everything we talk about, you got to go to our website, certifiednoonas.com, where all of the episodes have all of that information listed as blog posts over there. If you want to find us on social media, we're pretty much on every social media, but primarily Twitter and Instagram. It's always at certifiednoonas. And if you want to become a supporter of this podcast, you can go to patreon.com/certifiednoonas to become part of the official Certified Found Family, where we do lots of fun stuff. And, our found family is pretty much the best. We also have a Discord for people who just want to chat about all things that they love Asian entertainment. So we got the Certified Noonas server up and running. Links are always in the blog posts. We chat about all sorts of nonsense. For example, Jesse and I are doing NaNoWriMo this year, so it'll be the first day when this starts, and we have a NaNoWriMo channel. So if you're doing that, come to Certified Noonas, the Discord, and you can chat, be little heart's content about that. Anyway, we hope you have a fantastic week, that you stay out of, danger, walk on the assigned paths, not the illegal mountain hike trails. Wash your hands, wear a mask, and that's right. And keep enjoying Asian entertainment. Bye!
Bye!